TG Geeks, episode 154, January 29th, 2018. Feedback-a-Palooza! Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the Two Gay Geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror genre, you name it, we talk about it. Registered R. I am Keith Lane, and we are coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona.
And I'm Ben Raggington, also coming to you from, we will discuss that registered R in a few moments. And if you hear us doing any clearing of the throat, it's because we're getting over the last vestiges of this nasty little bug that's been, plaguing us since December.
Whatever
Phoenix,
the hell
Arizona.
That thing is. My God.
I know.
Just,
it was a bad, it was a
killing
really,
me.
it was a really irritating strain of flu.
Since January 1st. January 1st.
Yeah.
Well, the 31st.
Yeah, actually, you came down with it on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
And we're now, we're hitting a month.
29 days into
29
this
days. Yeah,
thing.
This thing can last about 2 months long. I mean, from the moment you get it to the moment when you can finally say it's gone. So, but we're like halfway to that point.
Yeah. So
anyway,
this episode we do have a Feedback-a-Palooza. Oh my
holy
gosh.
smokes! I was shocked when I compiled it.
We were, as it was going along and it was just kind of rolling along, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, are we really going to have enough for a Feedback-a-Palooza?
Can we even
and then we
possibly
started
have one?
compiling, and it's like, oh my God.
Whoa.
So this episode is primarily feedback. We do have an opening segment that we're going to talk about, and then a couple of follow-up or some things in the second segment, as well as our birthdays, everything.
The regular stuff.
Yeah, so we're just going to launch right in here just a moment.
So apparently we had obviously there's the changing of the hosting partner.
Yes, we changed to GoDaddy from the other thing.
The service that shall not be named.
Yes.
And it has been, except for the hiccups in getting it started and finally up and running, it has been fantastic.
Yeah, things have started to work better. We have a secure certificate, so our website is secured. It doesn't show up as non-secured in Chrome or other things. Mm-hmm. So that was it was quite it
was something we knew we were going to have to do,
yeah.
But we dreaded doing it because of the migration of all the history.
Well, and then it was forced upon us. So,
yeah, we had no choice.
We apologized just right before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it completely derailed us.
The weekend before Thanksgiving. I was going to do it the weekend of Thanksgiving, but the weekend before.
Okay, so you were actually planning to do it Thanksgiving week?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you were actually going to be doing it.
Yeah. And so it actually took that weekend before Thanksgiving, almost the whole weekend, and then through Thanksgiving to kind of get everything settled and migrated and done because of just all kinds of crazy stuff.
Wow.
And my stupidity too. So
or
ignorance, I should say. Ignorance.
Be that as
stupidity.
It may, this is something that was forced upon us. You learned a lot. Because having
Absolutely.
to migrate
yeah.
all that data from the service that shall not be named over to GoDaddy, that's something you've never had to worry about before.
Yeah.
There was so many facets to that. And the one thing that I'm going to really say that's awesome about GoDaddy is their customer service.
Oh, my Lord.
Their tech service is amazing.
Absolutely incredible.
They were lifesavers.
I called them, at 6 in the morning. I called them at 2 in the afternoon. I called them at 4 in the morning.
Yeah, you called them at night, and there was somebody there to help.
Yeah, and they always were helpful. So,
and we love the fact that that they're local.
They're local. Yep,
that makes it even better for us.
Here, which makes it great. And I just want to say one thing about the secure certificate, and this really, if anybody knows how to fix this or knows somebody at iTunes or anything, when I changed to the RSS to the secure feed, I lost all of my statistics on iTunes.
Ouch.
For all of the episodes that we had. 150 episodes we lost.
Yeah.
So anyway, if somebody knows how to fix that, I would appreciate a little feedback.
Right.
Thank you.
Now, you kind of gave us a fun little teaser when you mentioned, the Two Gay Geeks, registered R.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, it started in June of last year.
Has it been that long?
Yes.
Wow, what a process.
It is at least 7 months.
It's a lengthy process. I didn't realize it had been that long.
Oh, yeah. To trademark anything. And that was fast-tracked. Seriously.
Yeah, it was. I mean usually I've heard, because we have one of our best friends is an attorney.
And that's what he does for a living. Yeah.
And I remember
he
him
just
saying,
advised me.
Yeah, he only served as just giving some advice. But I remember him saying that these things can kind of get a little bit derailed here, a little bit there. There were really no serious hiccups in any of this for us.
Yeah, because normally it is you submit your application, and then it's 6 weeks or 8 weeks or something like that until they pick it up.
Right.
And even think about looking at it, and then they do their research, and it's another month or 2 or 3 months, and then it's published, and then there's it's a month after it's published. If there's no opposition to it, it kind of sails on through its process, and then 11 weeks after publishing, a certificate can be
not
issued,
not necessarily, but it might be.
Yeah, and it was exactly 11 weeks after publication date, which was actually on my birthday, the 23rd. So
woohoo! We
got the certificate, and actually the certificate came in the mail yesterday, yesterday.
Yeah, it was
which
yesterday.
was Saturday. We're recording this on Sunday, so that was pretty quick to get that done. And so, what did we trademark? Yeah, we talked about all of this.
Right.
Our full trademark is TG Geeks, the Two Gay Geeks. You name it, we talk about it.
That's ours.
That's actually it's TG Geeks, and then hyphen the Two Gay Geeks. You name it, we talk about it, and that is our trademark.
Yeah, but it is officially ours.
Yes,
we own it. It's ours. No one can use it. Well,
exactly.
At least not for profit.
Not for profit, or not for anything.
Not for anything. I mean, we have it. Yoo-hoo!
Yay!
It's ours.
Our trademark. Anyway, that's kind of my thing, and then we're going to do a little.
We got to do a bit of a recap, because even though we were cranking out episodes, keep in mind these were episodes that were already in the can.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I mean, we're human beings. We have day jobs, and we were going to be going on a vacation, so we have to have a holiday.
Yeah, and so we actually, in essence, took the entire month of December
and the first couple of weeks of January.
First week of January, yeah. So we're going to recap the episode number, just a brief what it was about.
Just a little description about what it was about, because
so that whenever we get to the
feedback, you'll know what it is we're talking about. So everybody, do you have your pen and paper? Do you have your notes ready? Here it goes. TG Geeks episode number 145. We had a great second interview with Zachary Wheeler about his new release, which is the sequel to Max and the Multiverse, and now it's Max and the Snoodlecock.
Yeah. TG Geeks episode 146.
Interview with Terry L. Smith about her upcoming book, Blood of Gods.
And TG Geeks episode 147. That's my podcast voice.
Is that your podcast voice? Okay. I'm going to add that to things not to do. I'm joking. I am joking. That's a podcast for dummies book. Anyway, in episode 147, we had just a regular, shoot the interview with Jonathan Latt, our good friend Jonathan Latt,
and author of The Geek.
The Geek, one of my favorite books ever. I can't wait for that next book to come out.
Yeah.
And then we had TG Geeks episode 148, where we had an interview with writer/director Maurice Haïms of the upcoming sci-fi thriller horror Chimera.
Sci-fi thriller horror drama,
but it's a sci-fi thriller horror in my opinion. Chimera, and my gosh, we got a lot to talk about. That
an incredible. We got lots of feedback on that.
Lots of feedback on that. So then on episode 149, episode 149,
which was Christmas Day.
That was Christmas Day. That was our interview with the force of nature named Jeffrey Thorne.
Yes.
And force of nature, I'm not joking. He's the showrunner for Disney XD's Avengers Black Panther Quest.
Among other things that he's done, yes.
Yeah, among other things that he's
comics,
done. And that interview was just, it was off the rails.
Yep.
That's all I can say.
It was great. And TG Geeks episode 150.
That was, yeah.
New Year's Day,
Number 150 on New Year's Day. Who else should we interview but none other than the Podfather himself, the man who really gave us our big start, and that is Michael R. Meningay.
Yay. Thanks, Mike.
And then when we came to episode 151, it really made just only the most obvious sense to interview Chuck Tomasi,
Mr. Technorama.
He's Mr. Technorama, and
Technorama, the podcast for geeks. I should have put that in there.
Yeah, I know, we really should have. Because he's also a close associate of Mike Meningay and was part of the whole Farpoint Media family. So it made sense to talk to him, and that was a New Year's Day episode. And then episode 152, we interviewed, I'm trying to think what his Twitter handle is. Is it Gay Geek Texan or Gay Texan Geek? Dwayne Smokey.
Geeky Gay Texan.
Geeky Gay Texan. Dwayne Smokey, an author of Taldra, Science Fiction Adventures. That's a compilation of a couple of stories. Great interview with him. And then our last episode 153, we had a chance to chat with a very, very dear and old friend of mine from junior high and high school days named Tim Calloway, who currently lives just outside of Vegas, and he is a voiceover artist.
Yeah.
That's what we covered while we were kind of like on our break.
On our break, yeah. And so that was a lot of episodes. Now, we did Dwayne's and Tim's here the last couple of weeks. Yeah,
that was your last couple of weeks ago, but we wanted to kind of rehash
We had
those.
everything from Jonathan up through 151, which was the interview with Chuck in the can.
You're right.
When we went on break. So,
yeah.
And we hadn't done any feedback on 152 and 53 because we're just getting
our voices, I mean, as you can tell, I mean, between the coughing and the clearing of the throat, the voices are not 100% yet, but it's a lot better than what it was 2 weeks ago. Excuse me. So, it was a lot better than what it was 2 weeks ago or even a week ago. I mean, huge improvement.
Yeah. So that is it for our first segment. So we're going to do our little bumper and then our birthdays.
This is Chuck Tomasi, author of Podcasting for Dummies and host of Technorama, the podcast for geeks. And you are listening to the Two Gay Geeks, because geeks is better than cool.
I should not have done that in my podcast voice. It just made things worse for me.
And here's a few selected birthdays for January 29th through February 4th, 2018. January 29th, Oprah Winfrey, John Forsythe, and Adam Lambert.
I just got to say, now, Adam Lambert was not the winner of American Idol. He was one of the runner-ups.
Yeah.
Now, but he just goes to show that when you're a runner-up, you're going to have a bigger career because he is now...
my Lord.
His solo stuff is great, but he's now the lead singer for Queen.
And we saw the show. Their first...
Holy crap.
It was the first stop on this
on that last tour.
tour.
Celebrating News of the World, 40 years of News of the World.
Oh, my Lord.
What a show.
He was incredible.
He was amazing.
Absolutely incredible. Also on January 29th, Greg Louganis and Anton Chekhov, born in 1860. I thought... Ensign Chekhov was...
I thought Ensign Chekhov was... Oh, Anton Chekhov.
Anton! Oh, this is the famous playwright.
Right, not Ensign Chekhov. This is Anton Chekhov.
There we go.
Wow, but it sounds so much alike.
I know.
But Anton Chekhov is attributed for one very important thing that good writers will use, and that is, if you see a smoking gun in Act 3, well, it frickin' well better have been used in Act 2.
Well, why? Because... give you clues on the very last page.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you to Murder by Death.
Yeah. Thank you, Neil Simon and Truman Capote.
Yes. Also, lastly, on January 29th, Thomas Paine, the author of the pamphlet Common Sense.
Common Sense.
That we could certainly use a lot of. And
today.
I'm just going to leave it there. January 30th, Phil Collins, Gene Hackman.
Oh, gosh. I feel
Gene
like I'm going
Hackman.
insane.
I feel like I'm insane. Purple Mountains, Majesties.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the Birdcage.
The Birdcage.
You
He
have
was
to see it.
absolutely incredible.
I mean, okay, so you've got two really hot comedians starring in Robin Williams and Nathan Lane, but really, it is Gene Hackman who steals that movie. He's hilarious.
Oh, absolutely. Also on January 30th is Barbara Tuchman, the author of the historical, I think it was historical fiction at that time. It was like 1974 or 75 that it was the calamitous 14th century. It was all about the plague and all of that.
What a cheery subject.
Wow, I tried to read that book. Oh my God, what a tome!
Too
it was
dense,
huge. Anyway, but she really kind of started that whole history buff thing back then. Anyway, also on January 30th, Mr. Lucas Hines.
Lucas, one of our dearest friends. He works at Disneyland. That's how we met him, and he's become a very, very dear friend of us since that time.
Yeah. January 31st, Jackie Robinson and Ernie Banks, two gentlemen of color who were great baseball players.
Right.
And when I visited the Baseball Hall of Fame,
I was so envious that you got to go to that.
My God.
I remember
That
must have been amazing.
Wow.
I'm so envious that you got to visit that.
Unbelievable.
You got to see that on one of your business trips.
Yeah, I took an afternoon or early afternoon and evening to go over to the Baseball Hall of Fame.
I'm glad
incredible.
you did. What an experience.
Yeah. Also on January 31st, Mr. Philip Glass and Franz Schubert.
About two as opposite composers as you could get.
Exactly. February 1st, Bill Mumy.
Lanier or Danger Will Robinson.
Yes, Will Robinson. Yes.
Of course, the first name that comes into my mind is, he was Lanier in Babylon 5.
Yeah,
I'm sure he appreciates the fact that he's not forever associated as Will Robinson in Lost in Space anymore.
Exactly. Also, and since February is Black History Month, Mr. Frederick Douglass and Langston Hughes.
What are their contributions?
They were
then?
poets, and Frederick Douglass was just huge during the Civil War as a poet and speaker and author, etc. Also on February 1st, Hugo von Hofmannsthal.
Oh my! Was that the German name you were fretting over earlier?
Yes. it's one F and two N's.
Wow.
In Hofmannsthal. Hofmannsthal. So
What a mouthful.
Yeah. He was actually the librettist for Richard Strauss.
Oh, really?
He was the librettist for Ariadne and Rosenkavalier, as well as Electra and Arabella.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he was the big muse for Strauss in doing
which is interesting, especially considering the last name that's on this birthday list. Is that interesting? How librettists seldom get the big recognition that the musical composer does for operas.
Exactly. Also on February 1st, speaking of opera. Renata Tebaldi. She was a famed opera singer who had an enormous career.
Fabulous career.
Yeah. And a friend of ours, Brian Weber,
Also known
a.k.a.
as
Arkle.
You're going to be hearing a lot from Arkle in a little bit later.
Yeah. And
speaking of librettists.
Yes, a friend of ours, John De Los Santos.
We hope to be having him on the show again soon.
Yeah, he is librettist for Copper Queen,
right.
And Clint Berzoni wrote the music for that. But John is really kind of a stage director.
He's a real Renaissance man.
Yeah, he does a little bit of everything. I mean, he's a librettist, he's stage director, choreographer, dancer, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Way too cute.
Everything that you can do in the theater.
And he's gorgeous.
Yes, he is
quite the good-looking.
Happy birthday, John.
Yes, happy birthday.
February 2nd, Brent Spiner, Ina Garten, who there was in the couple of episodes ago. We just started watching Grace and Frankie,
which I love,
and he's making a chicken, and he's sprinkling it with sea salt.
Right, I remember that.
And so he gives a kind of a dig to Ina Garten.
I missed that.
Yes. Well, what he says, and I have this special butter, and he knocks the
Right.
from Ina Garten. He knocks the video cam
Out of the
away and puts it in there. So
All of it.
we know that it wasn't the special butter that Ina Garten recommended.
Aha. Okay, so that's a really deep inside joke.
Exactly. It
Oh,
was,
so I see why you got it and I didn't.
well, it's one of those things that Ina Garten, she's the Barefoot Contessa.
Okay.
That's her alter ego as the chef and on her show. And what she says, you have to use this special butter from Vermont, from this farm.
Oh, good
and
God.
you can only get it here. But Land O'Lakes is fine if you can't get that. So she's always saying that, and so that was kind of this inside dig, and everybody
get
makes
it
a
now.
big deal about, this stuff that Ina Garten recommends. Anyway. Also,
Makes sense now. I get it.
Now, long story. February 2nd also there's two famed violinists,
Yes.
Jascha Heifetz and Fritz Kreisler, as well as a famed opera singer, Jussi Björn.
Yeah, Juicy Bjorn. Yeah, really kind of overweight alien from the planet Bajor.
Yeah. No,
For your Trek fans.
Jussi Björling.
Jussi Björling.
He was a great opera singer. I think he died in 1960.
Yeah.
So
Just
during the war, he was Swedish.
I was just marveling at the fact, for people who know the two of us really well, we love to just take names and butcher them just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
And I swear, one of these days, we will run into somebody famous. And we will say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I could just say, all apologies to Jesse Norman, the famed opera singer. I could just say, honey, here's just enormous. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Moving right along.
Also on February 2nd, Mr. Gary Lendros.
Who we just got to meet the other day. Oh, what a pleasure it was.
Podcaster meetup. Yes, here in Phoenix.
It was fantastic getting to meet him.
A peer group thing for his business.
Right, but he got to show up for is like a follow-up to the Podcast Yourself Summit.
Yeah. Also, lastly but not leastly, on February 2nd, dear friend Lenore Swisslow.
Man, the history on this one is hilarious.
Yes. I have known Lenore since before I met Ben.
And
we
I
worked
knew
at the same place.
And I knew Lenore's daughter, Audra, before I met Keith.
Yeah. So
How weird is that?
It's really strange.
It just goes to show that we were all meant to be together in some fashion.
Meant to be.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Lenore. February 3rd.
Speaking of Birdcage.
Yeah.
Nathan
Lane, exactly. And also on February 3rd, Warwick Davis and Henry Heimlich, who, if he hadn't been born, lots of people would have died.
Indeed.
Because he was a physician.
He was the one who came up with that maneuver.
The Heimlich maneuver.
Okay.
Yes. And also Gertrude Stein, who, if she hadn't been around, we might not have Alice B. Toklas cookies.
Which I've yet to have.
Yeah.
And I don't think at this point, it's just like a whatever now.
Yeah. February 3rd, Marlis Peterson. She is an opera singer who actually came and filled in at the Met for somebody else and has made quite a name for herself at the Met, singing several roles. Fabulous singer. Also on February 3rd, friend of ours up in Sedona, Jan-Mark Quisenbing, also known as
The
Janimal. February 4th, Dietrich Bonhoeffer.
Hero of yours.
Oh my gosh, famed writer during the
Holocaust,
World War II.
Oh, the man was a saint.
He was.
And a visionary.
Absolutely. Also on February 4th, I put in Alice Cooper simply because he's a resident of the Phoenix Valley area.
Yeah, and really nice guy, too.
Also, Rosa Parks and Clyde Tombaugh.
Who is famed for the discovery of the planet Pluto. Well, the planetoid.
Yes. Yeah, planetoid.
I'm old school.
It's
to
a
me,
planet.
it's a planet.
It's a planet. And anyway, so did you know he was only 26 when he discovered that?
No kidding.
Yeah. It was in 1930, and he was born in 1906.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Also on February 4th, Eric Leinsdorf, who is a famed conductor at the Met, and a good friend of ours, Jack Evans from Facebook. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
It's been almost 10 years. Have you missed us? Do you want to do a podcast, Serena? Okay. Podcasting for Dummies, the companion podcast with T. Morris and Chuck Tomasi, takes you beyond the pages of Podcasting for Dummies from Wiley Publishing. From product reviews to best practices to what's playing in the potosphere, you'll find it here. So subscribe at iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Podcasting for Dummies, the companion podcast. Give us 15 minutes, and we'll give you something to think about. Podcastingfordummies.com.
Go give a listen to our friends T. Morris and Chuck Tomasi over at Podcasting for Dummies podcast. And now...
Oh, fasten your seatbelts,
oh my
people.
gosh, are you strapped in? Here it goes.
Feedback-a-Palooza, Feedback-a-Palooza.
Oh, this is epic. Just epic. Am I going to have to get you one of those DJ machines?
That's it.
Wow, is that how it ends?
Yep.
Far out.
That is it.
Anyway.
Anyway. Oh, my Lord.
Oh, this is really epic. I'm tired. I just looked at the first three. I'm like, I'm done. Anyway, starting off, episode 146. Comment from Terry L. Smith herself. Thanks for having me on your show. I had a great time. See you next event.
Yeah, whichever one that is, who knows? You never know.
she's sort of taking over some of the big local gatherings here for Jeannie Koch, who has moved to Atlanta.
Yeah, but Jeannie has an awfully big bra to fill, so
Yeah, very big bra to fill. And
not shoes, but bra.
a big bra
Yep.
to fill, and
Yep.
I'm convinced we're going to see that in a book.
Yep.
Anyway, moving right along, and you're going to have to help me with the pronunciation of this name because I will ruin it.
Anthony DeGioia.
Thank you. He is the Silver Screen Analysis.
He is Silver Screen Analysis.
Boy, I couldn't get that right.
And analysis.
On YouTube, and we met him at Horrible Imaginings. Anyway, for that episode, he says, thank you for the birthday shout-out. Looking forward to checking out the episode. Moving on to episode 147, where we talked a little bit about Star Wars, the holiday special, and we got a comment from Arkle. He says, say what you will about the holiday special, at least they made B. Arthur's character canon, which is true. They have.
True. Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. She was the best part. No, wait. Best part implies there are other good parts. She was the only good part of that whole mess. And the funny thing is, I have to agree. She is. The rest of that thing is just a train wreck.
Oh, my gosh.
And then we got a comment from Jonathan Ladd, who was our guest, and he says, always love talking with you guys. Moving on to episode 148.
Oh, my gosh.
Remember, people, what that one was? Did you take your notes? Anyway, we got a comment from Cheekart Public Relations, and they write, outstanding filmmaker Maurice Haems did his first interview ever on the TG Geeks webcast.
Yay!
Yahoo!
And Maurice did not comment on our sharing on Facebook or on Twitter, I think. He did send us an email and said he felt very comfortable, and it was a great experience. So
and
thank you,
that
Maurice.
made me very happy, because
Yeah.
we'd like to make our guests feel very much relaxed when we do a show. And virtually all of them, pretty much all of them have come back and said they had a really great time.
Yeah.
So moving on, we got a comment from a good friend of the show, Hamish Downey, and he says, I love the idea that it's never too late. Good luck on the festival circuit. As your state's drag race representative, Tempest du Jour says, you are never too old to dream. And that ties back to the interview. And then lastly, we got for this episode, we got a comment from Gene Turnbow, who is he's Mr. Krypton Radio, and it was his birthday, and he simply writes, wow, I'm honored.
Yeah.
Then moving on to episode 149 from Kevin Falconberry.
Who's my cousin?
Right, and he says, "Thanks, Keith. I always enjoy your show when I get to listen to it."
Yeah.
Then we got a comment from Heathen Sam. Yes, that
friend
is
of
the
Brian
name.
Brown,
He's a
yeah.
friend of Brian Brown. He says, "New podcast? Well, anyway, new to me. Well, subscribe."
Yay.
Yay, thank you. And then, hey, Hamish comes back, and he says, "What a great interview. You guys are really punching really high these days. Hopefully 2018 brings some much-needed recognition to your show. I'm sure it's going to be a big year for both of you."
From your mouth to God's ear.
Thing on opera.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Now, moving on to episode 150. Hey, it's Hamish again. And he writes, "Thank you for the early birthday wishes, TG Geeks. You always make me feel so famous. These guys really do #support indie film."
Yay. We do. We
we
try to support independent creators, as
I mean,
we always say.
that's always a big push.
Yep.
And then
absolutely.
we got a comment from Terry L. Smith, who had just mentioned a little bit earlier. She says, "Thank you for the birthday shout." And then we got a comment from Arkle. And now I should simply say this. We were introduced to Arkle because he was also a Slice of Sci-Fi listener. And he says,
And commenter.
the Slice days. That certainly takes me back. Slice was, in fact, one of the first podcasts I ever listened to. It was my first podcast. My first iPod was a hand-me-down. Dad gave me his old Shuffle after he upgraded to what would later be called an iPod Classic.
Yeah.
And he'd loaded some shows on what he thought I might like. Since up to then only podcasts I listened at home after work, and it was just the recorded versions of a few of the Air America shows.
Oh, wow.
Boy, remember Air America?
Good
But
Lord.
I digress. And Slice was one of them, along with I Should Be Writing, which is still going, and Blast the Right, which pod faded years ago. I can even still remember one of those news stories from the first episode. It was about rumors that John Woo was going to direct a movie based on the video game Spy Hunter, with The Rock attached as a possible lead. Holy crud, I remember that one. And then lastly, he adds, "Just wanted to put this on your radar. It's a very interesting look at the Star Wars franchise from the post-Return of the Jedi up to the sale of Disney." And then he provides us a link, which we will put on our show notes for this episode. And he says, "I learned a lot I didn't know. Very fascinating."
Fascinating.
Then we got a little bit of feedback, episode 151, from our guest himself, Mr. Technorama. And he says, "Had a great conversation with Ben and Keith about podcasting on the show. It was good
Yay,
fun.
thanks.
Thank you."
Yeah.
Moving on to episode 152. It's Hamish again. We love Hamish.
Yeah.
He says, "I wish..."
And he's our listener from Japan.
That's right. He's
One of our listeners.
one of our listeners from Japan. The others, they hate us.
Yeah.
But he likes us. And he writes, "I wish filmmakers and other creatives support TG Geeks as much as they support them." Hamish, you almost made me cry when I read that.
Yeah, that's great.
That
Thank
was
you
so
much, Hamish.
remarkably kind of you. Thank you. And then we got a comment from Arkle again. Of course, I should also
Lord.
add that we talked about Escape from Tomorrow
Oh,
in
Lord.
that episode. Anyway, oh, gods, Escape from Tomorrow. You guys really should check out the Some Guy with a Camera's 3-part review of it. 3-part?
Oh, Lord.
Wow, that's a lot to talk about. And he says, "That certainly is a movie. Tony Goldmark's takedown of it ends up being pretty good story in its own right, which really does show the potential of what internet reviews can be.
Yeah.
Though, on the other end of the cinema sin, on the other end of that, cinema sins is everything wrong with internet reviewers, but that's a whole other rant." Then he changes. "One thing I will say in defense of Star Trek Discovery,
Oh,
though
dear.
that death left me very upset, and it was pretty much just the word of the actor that got me off the fence about watching the next episode. Ditto, ditto, ditto. Brian? The entire season had already been filmed before the pilot was dropped.
Yep.
That is true.
Yep.
While this kind of thing...
I think that's where they kind of they fouled this up.
Well, I think so too. Yeah, I would have
They
to
should
agree.
have done episodic.
Yeah, but it was going to be showing on Netflix outside of the
know,
U.S.
I know.
So they had to drop they had to
I
have the
know,
whole thing filmed.
I know.
So, while this kind
Preaching
of thing...
to the choir.
I know. While this kind of thing can work, see the good Marvel Netflix shows, it can also backfire spectacularly. Spectacularly. See the not-so-good Marvel Netflix shows.
What are you talking about there,
Iron
Brian?
Fist. Really? Iron Fist? Could it be? Oh, I have no idea. Iron Fist. and that it doesn't really allow much room for course correction. Absolutely. I imagine that this show had been filmed week to week like the previous Trek shows were. They would have been aware of how well liked Culber would, and might be the key word, I don't want to presume, gone in a different direction. Similar to how The Defenders was planned so tightly there was no room to change course when it became clear that few of the viewers actually gave a Kentucky Fried F about The Hand. And while I'm still upset about what happened to Culber, I have to admit, I did actually like last night's episode. It broke my heart, certainly, watching Michael be put through the emotional ringer, but her and Shazad Latif's acting was just amazing. I will give you that. I agree completely. Now, Brian also likes to, he wants us to share the fact that he has the incorrect Star Trek Voyager quotes, which we will push again a little bit later. But this just slayed me when I read this. He then adds, confession time.
Yeah.
Back in the days when Ben from TG Geeks would read entries from the incorrect Voyager quote blog, I would sometimes post stuff there just to see if he would read it. So you were making stuff up just for my benefit?
I love it.
Brian? Touche.
Stanley Tucci.
And then lastly, for episode 152, we got a comment from Lookie. Haven't heard from them in a long time. Thank you to the Two Gay Geeks for the nice shout out for the Lookie show in their podcast. We're always happy to do shout out for you guys. For the twins.
The twins.
And then episode
Sasha and Dagmar.
Sasha and Dagmar, yes. I'm sure there is there's got to be a triplet in there called Shagmar. Yeah, the forgotten triplet. And anyway, episode 153. We got a comment from dear friend of ours, Jennifer O'Brien Chavez. We've gone vacationing with her and her family numerous times.
Yeah.
Dear friend of ours. And she writes, 3 of my favorite people. Okay, needs qualification here. Jen, Keith and I, and Tim are all Disney geeks.
Yeah, and we're all friends of Jenner.
We are all what we call mice chatters. We belong to a little Disney social group. So that's how we all know each other. And then we had some birthday thanks or birthday greetings that we gave to Craig Stepp and Jeannie Koch for episode 153, and they gave us thanks for that. And then we recently, sometime, in the last few weeks, we released an article on our website. It was for the Avengers Infinity War. It was a tease for their trailer.
Yeah, the teaser
for
the trailer.
The teaser for the trailer. Now, Craig Stepp, he's the other half to Technorama.
He's the other Mr. Technorama.
He's the other Mr. Technorama. He's Mr. Technorama adjacent. He writes, "Gah! I hate these teasers before trailers. Just give me the trailer." Well, Craig, we are happy to oblige because shortly after that, in fact, the next day, we did publish the Infinity War trailer. And we got a comment from Daniel Franks. And he writes, "I got chills from this one." And then following that, I shared a review of Star Wars The Last Jedi and got a comment from Hamish again. And he says, "When I watched the movie, I enjoyed it." Then he parenthetically adds, "But I wish these long movies would give us a bathroom break."
Exactly.
That said, I knew that there would be a backlash. This was almost an anti-Star Wars film. But I think it's the right decision for Disney. Out with the old, in with the new. But I don't think it's the right decision for fans.
I like that.
I like that. I clearly will put myself in the second category. I am a Star Wars fan, so naturally I did not care for this film too much. But I think you make a really good point. There is definitely a schism, and I think everybody that is making that, where that dividing line happens, it's between old Star Wars fans and new.
Yep, exactly.
And then we also ran a review for the movie Chimera that you heard me talk about a little bit earlier. And we got a comment from Shiring Athli from India. She writes, "Chimera sounds like a film worth waiting for. I just hope it releases soon in India too, with any luck."
Yes.
Then we got a comment from Chimera the Movie at Twitter. And they write, thank you to the wonderful Keith and Ben of TG Geeks for Chimera's first review.
Yay.
We are happy to oblige. And then we got a comment from Cusick Gallery. This is a fan group on Twitter that likes Henry Ian Cusick, who is the star of Chimera. And they write, such a good write-up review for Chimera and the wonderful works about Henry Ian Cusick's performance. Thank you, TG Geeks. We can't wait to see it. And we got another comment from Chicar Public Relations. They're the ones who turned us on to the film.
Yeah.
And they write, thank you, TG Geeks of TG Squared Studios for this incredible review of Maurice Himes' Chimera. Then another Henry Ian Cusick fan group on Twitter, Cusick on Screen, writes, listen to the Two Gay Geeks chatting with Maurice Himes about his upcoming movie Chimera coming in 2018.
Yay.
And it was a great interview.
Yeah, it was.
And then lastly, I'm simply lumping it in with this. This was actually something that Maurice sent to us directly, but it was good enough to share. He writes, Dear Keith and Ben, I hope that all is well with you and yours, and that you had a nice winter break. I have just returned from some time off myself and wanted to quickly drop you a line to wish you both a fantastic 2018. Best regards. Thank you, Maurice.
Thank you, Maurice. That was a delightful email.
It was
really
very nice.
Thank
and
you.
I'm really hoping that during one of our future trips down to Southern California that we can run into him and have drinks.
And speaking of Chimera, the movie,
Yes.
they have, and cross our fingers, they have submitted to the Phoenix Film Festival.
Yes, we're
So
hoping that it gets
we're
in.
hoping it gets into the Phoenix Film Festival. That would be an absolutely wonderful thing for them.
Yeah, because he said he'd show up for that if he
Yeah,
could.
yeah.
So I'm really hopeful. And now, a blast from the
Oh
past.
my Lord.
We ran a story back in October of 2015 about Warner Brothers optioning Dragon Riders of Pern and how it had writers for the project. Well, just last month, we got a comment from Sally75228, and she writes, are they still working on it? Okay, I think we
That's
need...
a really good question.
It is a good question, but
we
I
should
think...
probably look into that and see
Well, we should,
what we can
but
find out.
we do know this little bit. There's a difference between optioning and a difference between green lighting.
Absolutely. Yep.
If you ever have
yep.
any questions, all you got to do is listen to any of our interviews with Jonathan Latt.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because he used to...
That was his
yeah.
thing. He was into the whole behind the scenes thing.
Right. But basically, in short, optioning means, well, the studio will take a look at it. They will say, okay, try it. And then they come back and say, okay, now try to convince us with what you've got.
Right.
That's
And then-
basically it.
And then it goes into development, and that's usually where things fall into development hell, which means
Right.
if they ever get made, it's a good question.
Right. There's
whether-
option hell. There's development hell. Right now, we don't know where it's at.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything else
Yeah.
yet, so I'm going to assume that it just got stuck in an option hell. But maybe it's moved on and we just don't know. We
You
need to
never know.
investigate.
Yeah.
And then not too long ago, like within the last week, I think,
this week sometime.
Russ Emanuel, who some people might remember from, and what is it that he did?
Occupants, the movie.
Right, which we gave heavy push to at Phoenix Comic-Con 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
He is directing another film called Whisper.
Well, he's had several films, but
Well, he's had several, but
Yeah.
the latest one that he has done, he contacted you. I guess he reached out to you directly
Yep.
and asked for us to give us a little bit of a push. He's directing a movie called Whisper, and it's I guess you could call it something of a docudrama,
Yeah.
and it's about the real life story of a man who was accused of killing his family, and he was exonerated by the police, but the community did not. And it's all about about his life. And again, it's a docudrama, so it's not like they're culling actual footage.
Right.
They have a cast and all that. So, but we have the trailer for that on our website. We will have the link for that on our show notes. Anyway, Russ Emanuel says, thank you so much for the Sharon article. Whisper Project, the official Twitter organization or Twitter handle for Whisper, says thank you for the article. And we close off with Hamish Downey again saying, looks like an exciting film, good music.
Yeah.
And, of course, lastly, thank you to all who who congratulated us on finally becoming trademarked. If we were to thank every single one of
Oh, my
those,
gosh.
then the Feedback-a-Palooza
We'd
would
still
run
be
over
going.
it'd be going to 2 episodes.
Yep.
And that's our feedback.
Thank you to everybody for all of your comments and questions and wonderful things that you have to say to us in our feedback. As always, we want to hear from you, our listeners. If you know something about anything we've talked about, you want to share information with us, you want to comment on what we've talked about, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, let us know. We want to know. We always are looking for that feedback to make the show to make it better, to help us to know what our listeners want.
Yes,
So-
you people are always on the hunt. I mean, like earlier in the feedback, Arkle found this great article about the history of the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah.
After Return of the Jedi up to the Disney purchase. There are great things like that. Tom Allred Gulbranson has shared wonderful content with us. So, yes, by all means, if you see something, anything, or if you learn of an event, whatever.
Yep. Let us know. We certainly want to know about it. And you can always comment on our Facebook page, TG Squared Studios, or at our website, tggeeks.com. You can comment on Twitter, on YouTube, and just a lot of different places. Or you can even call us on our listener line, our listener feedback line, 469-TG-GEEKS. That's 469-844-3357. And if you leave us a voicemail comment, we will play it on air. So please do that. And always remember, when you do comment, please play nice. Just please play nice.
Yeah, baby. They're like 2 gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're 2 gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
And of course, while we were on break, as he continues to play DJ, that's the shame of the fact that he's at the soundboard.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't exactly idle. I mean,
No.
some of us did. I mean, on occasion, Keith and I would post an article, and we've had some really, really awesome content from 2 contributors of ours, Ro and Andrea Richoff. For example, Ro gave us a review for The Greatest Showman.
Yeah.
She also gave us a nice season 1 review of Godless on Netflix. We ran an article on Dr. Trek, that's Larry Nemeczek, about how he's debuting the Trek Files podcast. There was also an article on our website about the new Pacific Rim trailer and how it brings pilots to the forefront.
Yay.
There is the article that Keith ran about Whisper, the official trailer from Russ Emanuel. And Ro also shared us a book review. Yes, we do book reviews too.
Yeah.
Of Terminal Alliance.
I just sent her a bunch of books to read. So Beth Cato's books and
excellent.
Carrie Merrill's first book, and also Zachary Wheeler's book.
Excellent.
So-
And then lastly, Andrea, she did a review for us, and we could not be happier. It is for The Maze Runner, The Death Cure, and the satisfying conclusion to the trilogy that she felt that it is. So, yes, by all means, please check out our website. We've got some content that is always going on. We don't have enough time to cover all of it in the episode. I mean, if we do, we will. But as you can see, we had the big, massive feedback today, so we didn't have time to cover all of it.
Yeah.
But please, by all means, go to the website. For the things
Check
that I
it
just
out,
listed, I will include those in our show notes, but there's a lot of things that don't make it to the show notes. So
that's it.
visit our website regularly to see what new items are being published there.
Yep, tggeeks.com, and you can, on Facebook, we're TG Squared Studios. You can also look up TG Geeks Webcast on Facebook. Follow us and like us there. We have, we've got 5 Twitter handles. We are the Two Gay Geeks.
TG Squared Studios, the Two Gay Geeks, TG Geeks. I think it's 4.
Two Gay Geeks, yeah.
I think it's 4.
Yep.
Plus our individuals.
Plus our individual. So, all those different places that you can follow us, please do that. And check out our YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got, our presence there. That all of our episodes are posted on that, so you can listen on YouTube. You can also listen in the episode itself. I mean, the article itself.
Right.
So through your browser, or you can do iTunes or Stitcher or, oh my gosh, every place.
I know we really are
We're
all over
trying
the place.
to be everywhere. But anyway, so that's it for our second episode. We always have some follow-up items, and thank you for listening through this. Because we always had change things up a little bit, so please continue to listen.
Yeah, don't just say, oh, they're doing the
Okay,
follow-ups
they're doing the follow-up.
again.
See you later.
See, yeah, goodbye. No, we're always
Stop.
changing things up. There's something new to talk about.
Yeah. So we got our calendar, obviously, on our website. We've got, if you have birthdays or event or a con or a film festival, send us a note. We'll put it on the calendar, and we'll certainly, announce those things.
Right.
Phoenix Film Festival, April 5th through 15th, 2018 at Harkins Scottsdale 101. Over 250 films
That's
and
gonna be huge.
25,000 attendees over 11 days.
Now, I only, within the last couple of years, only discovered that the Phoenix Film Festival is, and as far as just basic film festivals, is one of the biggest in the country.
It's one of the top
It's
25
huge.
in the country.
It is massive.
It is huge. And an interesting thing,
Yes?
Audra is married to
Audra,
Greg,
yes, who we
Greg
talked
Hall,
about. Yeah,
who I-
Audra's mother is Lenore Swislow, that
Yes.
Keith knew, and then Audra is that who I knew.
Yeah,
So she's
and
married to Greg Hall.
a couple of years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, I followed Greg Hall on Twitter, who was associated with Phoenix Film Festival, and it wasn't until this last year, and I said, "Oh, you're that
Greg Hall. Yeah.
So it was kind of strange. Anyway, so that led us to, he put us in contact with somebody at Phoenix Film Festival and director of development, and we are going to be sponsors.
We will be
of
there,
Phoenix
and we are
Film
sponsors,
Festival.
yes.
So please check out the Phoenix Film Festival. Come into Phoenix if you can. It is a great time. They're going to have a lot of really good films.
Yes.
And Phoenix Comic Fest.
No
That
longer
is the
Phoenix
new
Comic
name.
Con.
Yeah, it takes place at the Convention Center May 24th through the 27th, 2018. Lots of guests. Check out
Tons of guests being announced,
PhoenixComicCon.com. Yes, lots and lots of guests. Arizona Opera presents Candide, Leonard Bernstein's opera featuring the famed Glitter and Be Gay. This production is part of the worldwide celebration of Bernstein's 100th anniversary, and actually the performances at Tempe were last weekend. And
Tempe?
Tempe. Tucson, yes, in Tucson.
Well, it's in Arizona
Yeah.
City. It
It's
begins
a-
with a T, and it
and
has
it-
two syllables.
Yeah,
I mean,
there we go.
anybody could get that wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's in one of those other places other than Phoenix.
Yeah, whoa!
And
Right.
it concludes in Phoenix, February 2nd through the 4th. And February 3rd is also Pride Night at the Opera. There are still tickets available. There's a special event going on before the opera. So it's a special, I am not sure it's a ticketed event, but you have to RSVP to it. So
It's going to be a huge party.
yeah, it's a little party.
It'll be tons of fun, and don't let yourself be intimidated by the fact, oh my goodness, it's opera. This one is pure fun.
Yeah, it's just
With
a lot of fun.
glorious, fabulous music that is very accessible, and it's in English in case you don't understand.
Yeah. Check out the third edition of Podcasting for Dummies, written by T. Morris and Chuck Tomasi. Go to podcastingfordummies.com. And as everybody knows, we are huge supporters of independent creators, whether it's filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, you name it, we talk about it. We support independent creators, and thank you to all of the people that support those independent creators. If you find somebody that's doing something, please consider supporting them.
Special shout out to the Doctor Who Fancast Guide. This is something that is published by Doctor Who Talking Who on Twitter. You can find them by going to Twitter and searching at Talking Who if you want to locate the Fancast Guide. Also, we talked a lot about Arkle and his feedback. Well, you can find him on Twitter. He is the Human Arkle. And the actual handle is at Arkle, A-R-K-L-E, and he publishes the Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News, and I mentioned both of these because they republish our content on a regular basis.
The interesting thing is that these are paper.ly publications. We also have one ourselves that it's kind of a news aggregator, if you will. You put in specific criteria, and it pulls articles from Twitter. So we have one of those as well.
Yes. And also, Arkle has, interesting enough, the incorrect Star Trek Voyager quotes, and I'm going for it. It's his 200th post. Tom Paris says, "When you're laying in the gutter, you can see underneath people better than usual." Harry Kim says, "You don't seem the gutter type." Tom Paris says, "Oh, I'm a native. I just clean up well." There, Brian, I read it. Yes. And then lastly, a shout out to the Facebook group, The Gay Geek, for allowing us to post our episodes there on their page. It's a fantastic group. It's one of my favorites on all of Facebook because the people there are just amazing, and they post some really brilliant material there. Anyway, you can find them by going to facebook.com/groups/thegaygeek. And as always, our greatest thanks go to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves, for saying, yes, you may share your stuff here.
Thank you, Jeremiah. And we want to remind you to occasionally click on our Amazon ads. You can find them at the bottom of each article and each episode, and you can find widgets on the side of the page. It always helps, so please consider doing that. And lastly, check us out on iHeartRadio, and please rate us and review us on iTunes, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Not that it's going to matter anymore. We will be adding some new things, to the YouTube channel, to the website, to the webcast here. We're thinking about a couple of things. I'm trying to do a couple of things, reached out to a couple of people to do some little short segments and, kind of change things up. And we got some people that are thinking about that.
All looking as part to help grow the brand. Yeah,
just something different to do. So kind of break up not the monotony, but, a little bit of something every once in a while, something different. So check us out. And up next week, Ms. Jeannie Koch, author and pop culture maven.
She returns.
She's
coming. She's coming.
She comes. She comes.
Little opera gag there.
And that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We will have several links on the page. Yes, I'm using
Is there a switch to that podcast voice?
Yes. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. I bid you peace.
Cheers.